Hey guys, in this video I'll be showing you how to bleed the convertible top hydraulic piston, it's down there, on a 1999 to 2004 convertible Ford Mustang. Now the tools you're going to need for this are a funnel, a large cup, a small cup, a syringe, an 11mm wrench, a screwdriver, a ratchet, a T40 Torx bit, 13mm socket, Teflon sealant tape, and finally STP automatic transmission fluid. Make sure it is either Mercon V or Dexron 3. Those are the only two fluids that are going to work. Everything else is just going to break it. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is remove your back seat. As you can see, I've already done that. I just keep it off because I got to work on this so frequently. There's 1,000 other videos on YouTube about how to do that. You can just look one of them up. The basic idea is under the seat, there are these little things, and you stick a screwdriver in, you press that little tab, and the whole seat just pops right up. Once you've removed your rear seat, we're going to remove this panel right here. It's the one that's got your speaker and your seat belt coming out of it. This is going to be a little different process for me because I've got this roll bar. So for you, what you'll do is you can just pop this thing off. Looks like this. So that on the floorboard. Pop this off. Got the seat belt down through there. Alright, now there's going to be a few clips. There's going to be one clip right here. Right here. You should use a screwdriver or a panel clip puller to pull that out. Me, I'll be using a screwdriver. And then there's a few more right here. This, you can just take it and pop it right off. And also down here. So you'll just need to grab this, pull up, take this piece of trim. I usually put it in the seat. And then, yeah, after that, this panel should just lift off. I'm not going to show me removing it because it's a huge pain to get off with this thing in the way. Okay, and once you've got this panel off, you'll see right here, here's the cylinder that drives the convertible top. Here are the lines that we need to bleed, these two lines running to it. We need to remove this nut right here, so get your ratchet with your 13mm on it. And you should just need to break it. After that, it just comes off by hand, just spins. I'm just going to leave that right there, or another place where you won't forget it. Then after that, this little black piece should come off with some wiggling. You may need your screwdriver for this. Oh, there we go. Alright, do not lose this, because I don't know of anywhere else where you can actually get these things. I've looked for replacements just to see if they exist, and I couldn't find one, so make sure you hold on to this. So next up, we've got the cylinder almost free. The end of it is attached with a T40 Torx bit to the rest of the top. So to get to that, just raise the top, and if you come on in, you will see, I don't know how good the lighting is in here, but you'll see back up in here that T40 Torx. So what you're going to do with that is you're going to get your ratchet with your T40 Torx bit, get it up past this liner. It's hard to show because there's this liner in the way. I suppose you could remove that if you want, but I am on it. Don't know if you can see, my hand's in the way. But I am on it, and this silver tube goes up into here. And so these things are torqued down pretty tight from the factory. So what you're going to need to do is really, there we go. So now I've just removed the Torx bit after a few ratchets, and you can actually just get in there with it and remove it yourself like this. Okay, again, another part that I could not find replacements for anywhere, so don't lose this. Alright, so now the hydraulic cylinder is free, so what you're going to want to do is you want to take your hand and very gently, very slowly and gently compress the piston. This should not be difficult. It should just very smoothly compress down. Okay. And then you just grab, and pull out toward you. And there is the piston, all free. Also, please excuse me, I know technically it is a hydraulic cylinder. I've been using the term hydraulic cylinder and hydraulic piston, or just piston, interchangeably. Technically both of them work, but yeah, just so you know. Alright, now we can put the top back down. Now this is very important. Since you're missing a cylinder here, do not, under any circumstances, try to use the motor to lower the top. Do it manually. It's not that hard. The weight of the top itself should just bring it down very gently. It's not bad for your motor, not even hot. Don't worry about it. Just bring the top back down, and yeah, that will allow you to bleed it properly. Alright, so our next step is to take our automatic transmission fluid and our large cup, and we're just gonna fill up this cup about halfway with the automatic transmission fluid. And you want to be really careful because this stuff does not smell good, so you don't want to get it all over your hands, your clothes, your car. Just be really careful with this stuff because it stinks. Alright, so the reason we're doing this is going to be our, what I call a pool for bleeding. So we're going to stick the 2 lines hooked to the cylinder into this and then just run the motor. And that's going to get all the air out of those lines. Because if they're both submerged in this, then the only thing that they could suck up is ATF. And the only thing that they can expel is air. So they're just going to be running through this over and over. Alright, now all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your 11mm wrench and just barely, and I mean barely, loosen these. The rest you can just pull off by hand. It's not difficult, not hard. You do not want to strip these. And I'm just going to hold it over that. You can do it on the bottom too. If you need to change the fluid in this, if it's gross or dark or burnt or anything, do that before you do this, because that one's on there good. Because we're just going to be reusing the fluid in these lines, and you need to change that out if it's gross, because it's just going to get mixed in with your good fluid, and then you're just wasting your time. Okay, finally got it off. And this one is going to immediately start leaking, which is why you need to have a lot of paper towels on hand. Yeah, see? Oh gosh. Alright, so this is pouring liquid out onto my floor here. So if I just detach it from the speaker, it's magnetized itself too. Hold that over that bucket. Hold it over our little catch thing here. As you can see, you're going to need lots of paper towels because stuff's just going to spill everywhere the entire time. And I'm just going to let this kind of drain. If I wasn't holding a camera, I would grab the end and compress the cylinder to get it all out. Okay, so see, you can kind of see the mess I've got myself into here. Fluid's also going to come out this top hole once you start moving this piston back and forth. So I just recommend putting a towel over that and letting it all drain down the cylinder itself into your little cup. Okay, after just moving this thing up and down a few times, I've made a giant mess, but gotten most of the fluid out of it. And so for now, I'm just going to leave it propped up right here, because we're not going to need it. We're not going to need it for a little bit. We're just going to focus on these 2 lines. So what you're going to want to do is take them and just force them both under this, and you can move this cup around to manipulate them. It's quite heavy, so it's not going to spill over. Alright, so here's the part that scares most people. What you're going to do is you're going to take your keys, put them in the ignition, turn it to the electric or accessory position, and take your switch, and you're just going to press down. Now this motor back here is going to make some weird noises, and you should see bubbles coming up out of here. So I'm going to press down, and over here, you should see this fluid level rising. You see it going up, and then once you let go, it's going to go down. And you're just going to cycle that over and over and over. Now this thing over here may get warm. It's not warm right now, but if this thing gets too hot, just stop what you're doing, go inside, take a water break, get some food. Do not let this thing get too hot, because that's going to expand the fluid, and then once all your hard work is done, that fluid's just going to contract, suck air in through any leaks in the system, and then you've got the exact same problem. Okay, so now that I feel that all of the air has been sufficiently bled out of these lines, I've been doing this for about 4.5 minutes, maybe 5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reattach these lines to this cylinder. Now, to get the cylinder ready, this is very important that you don't lose all your hard work. You need to make sure that the cylinder is fully and completely compressed. You're just going to take it and push down. Some fluid may come out the bottom, that's why I've got that little rag there. And you then just make sure that the cylinder is totally compressed. Also, at the beginning, I said you may need a small cup. The first time I did this, I had this almost overflow, and so I just poured off a little bit of it into the small cup. So that's what the small cup's for. In this case, I don't need it because I've done this before and there's not excess fluid in my system. But if there is in yours, you will need that small cup. For the next step, we're going to take our Teflon tape and take off about 2 to 3 inches of it, and then we're going to wrap it around the ends of these. There, it should look pretty much like, if we'll focus, it will look pretty much like that. You don't want a thick wrap because it's just going to bunch up at the end when you put it on. You just want a real thin one. Now notice, I've kept the other one in here, and I actually should be capping it off like this with my finger. I've also kept the cap on the motor. That way no more air can leak its way into the system while I'm doing this. So now you just need to find which one this goes to. Now these tubes are pretty bendy, and it will just go to the position it wants to be. This one wants to be in position up, so I'm going to assume it is for this one. So I'm just going to screw that in hand tight, and then only tighten it with your 11mm wrench for the last quarter turn. Otherwise you'll strip it, and all is for naught because you've just ruined the cylinder and you need to pay like $100 for a new one. There, just get it snug. Don't over tighten it. And then you're just going to want to repeat the process with the other one. Since this is a difficult process to do with a camera, I'm just going to not show it and get it done. It's the exact same process as this one. Just wrap it in Teflon tape, screw it in, and tighten it for the last quarter to half turn. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to check your fluid levels. Now, we got this one all hooked up. See, we got both of them in nice and tight, and we got our fluid right here. This is your motor. It's what drives your whole convertible top system, and it is held on by 4 of these little rubber things. Now on some, like mine, should be, if I just push up hard enough, they should just pop out, because I've done this so many times. They're a bit worn, they're not meant to. But if you can't get it out, like I can't, a screwdriver. This is a screwdriver I like to call Old Yellow. It's quite long, it's mainly been used as a pry bar. Anyway, you can just get that up under there, and then it'll just pop it right up. And once you got the top or the front 2 undone, you should just be able to pull up hard enough on the other 2. And yeah, there you go. This little black thing is the plug. And so what you're going to need to do with that is you're going to need to pop it out, fill this thing up with fluid. Okay, so we're just going to take a little bit of fluid from our large cup and pour it into the small cup, just a little bit, maybe a third full. We don't want to have too much fluid going out. I'm just going to take that fluid, I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to watch it, make sure it doesn't spill when I move this. Okay, good. Now you're just going to pop this cap off. I can do it with my fingers. You may need a screwdriver or a pair of needle nose pliers. Alright, so now that you've got that off, you're just going to set this as far up as you can get it. And I'm sorry, this thing's in the way. You're just going to fill this thing up with as much fluid as will fit in and that doesn't spray out when you got the cap in. So just maybe leave like 2 to 3 milliliters. Metric system. Okay, so it's now full, and as you can see I did it the messy way because I only have 2 hands to do it. If there wasn't a camera here, there's much better ways to do this. But I got it full, so now I'm just going to put the cap back in. Okay, now that that's back in, you can just reseat the motor back where it goes. I'll clean it up a little first. The stuff doesn't smell good, as I've said many times before, so you don't really want it. As you can see, I spilled a little here. So you don't really want it all over your car. No matter what, your car's going to smell like this stuff for 2-3 weeks. So, yeah, I should have mentioned that at the beginning of this video. Your car is going to smell horrible after you do this, because this stuff is impossible not to get everywhere. So now that we've kind of wiped everything down, we're just going to take the motor. And I'm just going to place it right now. I'm not going to fully press it in because I may need to add more fluid in a minute. Now, normally we would just take the top and move it up and down 3 times. The problem is this cylinder is the only one that's detached. So we're going to fill it up manually. So I'm just going to move this out of the way where it's not going to get hit or run over, and take this, and I'm going to have to use my foot for bracing here. You're just going to take it and very slowly pull out until you feel a bubble, and it gets easy. Then you're going to push back in, and then very slowly pull out so you feel a bubble. Push back in, pull out very slowly. Okay, and then on the 3rd time you just pull all the way out, and you're going to go all the way back in. And what you're doing is you're forcing the bubbles out, I believe it's this tube. So by going back and forth, all the bubbles are going to get pushed into this tank where they can be let out through this air cap and filled up, the extra space filled up with fluid. So you're going to do this over and over so you don't feel any bubbles in it. I do want to point out, while you're doing this, make sure you keep an eye on this thing. If this cap starts to come out, stop what you're doing right now, stick a screwdriver in there and release the pressure, because this thing bursting out is not a fun experience. Ask me how I know. I've exploded it twice now, actually. So this process takes about 15 minutes of just going back in and out, in and out, in and out, to fully get this thing free of bubbles. So I'm just going to skip that. I know you guys don't exactly want to watch me do this for 15 minutes, even if it is sped up. So I'll see you guys once it's done. Alright, so now that I've pumped this thing back and forth for about 15 minutes now, I'm going to check the fluid level in the motor. So it's exactly the same. You just pull the motor off, pull this cap out, fill it with fluid until it starts spilling out, put the cap back in, reattach, and repeat this process till there's no air left in this thing. You'll hear bubbles mostly with this. You just got to keep coming back and forth till there's no more bubbles. After all that bleeding that we just did, the convertible top cylinder is ready to be reinstalled. Installation is the opposite of removal, so you're just going to put it on. You're going to put this thing on right here. That actually takes a little bit of work, but you'll get it eventually. Then you're going to put the top up, all the way up. You're going to grab this piston. You can reach around back here like this, and grab it, extend it, take your Torx bolt, and you're going to screw it in. And then after that, you should be all set. And thanks for watching.